Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is your host, the Spanish Master, aka Jay. So something that I was like thinking about lately, it's that we are in the month of the Heritage Hispanic Month, and I normally start September 15th all the way to October 15th. And for those of you that didn't know too much about this, it all started back in the George W. administration when he declared, instead of having a week purposely set for the Hispanic population, Latino population celebration in the United States, became like from a week it became a month, and it's uh, it's something that people probably don't know too much about it. But I would like to kind of just spend some time before we get to the lesson today and talk a little bit about that. I think that it is important to, when you teach about that, just teach also cultural awareness in regard to that too as well. So, but let me go ahead and place a video here that I was showing to the class today, uh, that I would like to share with you really quick. And some of that, I think it's very useful because talk a lot about, I think a lot of facts are really important. Okay, so let me just hold on a second, guys. I'm just like trying to pull up this here quick so you guys can see. One of the things that I didn't realize that is that people tend to confuse the definition of Latino and Hispanic a lot, and I thought it was a good idea just to explain differences. I thought most people, even in the Hispanic community, they tend to use those terms interchangeably, and I think kind of cool to get to understand how that works. Yeah, let's go ahead and so what's your thoughts for those who are in the chat? What is the difference between Latin America versus Hispanic, like Hispanic versus Latinos? Um, According to like the internet, I don't want to say that this is like taught in schools and things like that, but according to the internet, Hispanic is that group of people that speak Spanish that are coming specifically from Spain. They speak Spanish, but they're in that part of Europe, like in that part of the world, right? Coming from Spain. And then Latinos, we're talking about Central America, South America, and also the Caribbean are considered Latino because they're also, when they speak Spanish, a lot from Central America, Latin America. So correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding. And as a Spanish teacher, I think that when I was going through college, I asked actually my professor a couple of times, what is this? Like, because the things have been evolving since then. Like, for example, now the term of like Afro Latino, people, that's actually like part of like what like Cubans, Puerto Ricans, and Dominicans consider themselves too as well. So like I consider myself as an Afro Latino because I have Afro descendant or ancestries, right? And I was, you know, born in the Dominican Republic. So that being said, so I speak Spanish. Uh, you know, my skin color too as well, and all that. Hey man, how are you? I'm doing fantastic, man. Thank you for joining uh, the live stream tonight. So since we're celebrating the month of Hispanic population, or the inherited Spanish-speaking countries, we're talking a little about differences between Latinos and Hispanic, and how and within the Latino groups, we tend to use those terms interchangeably. Like now, the like the Gen Z, tend to use the Latinx, for example. Um, 10 years ago, I didn't even realize that that was a thing. So, but now this is a term that people tend to use to identify themselves as a Latino, but like the youth mostly like from late 2000s. So it's quite interesting all this like changes and all this stuff. So um, let me pull up this video that I was telling you about, so we can kind of see it and see you guys' reaction about that. Um, I guess the why can I find this? This is kind of weird. Um, yeah, Latino versus Hispanic. Um, and it's interesting because, for example, like if you think about, so Hispanic refers to the people with ancestry from speaking for Spanish-speaking countries trying to the Spanish language. So Latino refers to the people with origins to Latin America, according to the internet. That's what it says. Geographically speaking, regions as Central America, South America, and other parts of the Caribbean, but not necessarily Spain. Therefore, the person can be Hispanic but not Latino. Someone from Spain, for example, Latino but not Hispanic. Um, for example, someone from Brazil, where speak Portuguese is but no Spanish, or both. Some from Mexico, for example, Mexico, and so on and so forth. So it's like quite like interesting all this stuff. Um, here is let's watch this one. I think that
The words Hispanic and Latino are often used interchangeably.
you see, like the word interchangeably is always like look. So this is a short. Actually, that's not the right video that I wanted to show, but at least so you can have an idea about. This is Twin City PBS. I don't follow this person, but I think it's kind of cool to kind of see some of the thoughts people had about that. So let's kind of listen to what she had to say, and then we can talk about it for a little bit.
The words Hispanic and Latino are often used interchangeably, but they actually mean different things. Hispanic refers to folks who are Spanish speaking or descend from Spanish speaking populations and countries. So when you want to use the phrase Spanish speaking, you can shorten that to Hispanic. On the other hand, Latino and Latina, which are gendered, O is masculine, A is feminine, refer to folks who are from or descended from Latin America. If you're looking for a gender neutral form, you can use Latine or Latinx, but these terms are super debated. Next, if you're talking about somebody who speaks Spanish and is also from Latin America, then you can use Hispanic and Latino interchangeably. For someone from Latin America who doesn't speak Spanish, like Portuguese-speaking Brazilians, you'll want to use Latino. For now, remember this: Hispanic equals of Spanish-speaking origin, and Latino equals of Latin American origin. The words Hispanic and Latino are often used interchangeably.
You see, I think she does a pretty good job explaining it, because just like she was saying, um, and also she explained a little bit about the genders. Like when you're talking about Latino, Latina, Latino is a male and Latino is a female, and it's something that the grammar, the Spanish grammar, is used a lot in terms of like using nouns and things like that. Um, but yeah, there are some differences. It's not quite like super.
The words Hispanic.
Let me see if you can find. I'm trying to find this video, man. The video that I have, I can't. I don't know why I can find it. The other one is playing it really good. Uh, yeah, I want you to show. I want to show this one. It's like Inheriting Month. PBS. This is from PBS, I think it is. Let's see if I can pull it up. I wish I can put it up. Let me see. I'm trying to. Oh, there it is. So yeah, understanding Hispanic and heritage. That was made like 2 years ago. That is a guy from. He's a Mexican. He identifies himself as a Mexican American. Uh, his name is Ben, I guess. He's a reporter. It's a 3 minutes video. I want to just to show you guys like the terms and all that. So um, It's pretty cool.
At KPMG, we make the difference by helping
Let me
our
know if you can
clients
listen.
navigate the
I do have
ever-evolving
my.
universe
Let me
of
take
technology.
away
We
my.
accelerate business value and drive impactful outcomes by empowering our clients.
15th, it's because a handful of Latin American countries actually celebrate their Independence Days on September 15th. Plus, Mexico celebrates on the 6th.
Here we go.
It's Hispanic Heritage Month, a time for us to recognize and celebrate diverse culture, history, and contributions of Latinos past and present. But what does it actually mean to be Hispanic or Latino? What do these labels apply to? And why do we celebrate in the middle of September, right? I'm going to help you understand it all.
Yeah. Something kind of interesting here is that he's right. Like normally when you celebrate things like that, like they're at the beginning of the month or maybe at the end, but this one is in the middle of the month. It's kind of quite interesting. So, um, and the intro is super good because he's talking about like how we just don't celebrate one country, so we celebrate all of the 21s, right? Um, let's check it out. So understanding Hispanic heritage.
I'm Juan Venegas, NBC News and MSNBC correspondent, and a proud Mexican American. Now,
Notice that he said a proud Mexican American. So we have a lot of different, when it comes to like ethnicity, people identify themselves. No, like he don't identify himself as a Latino, although he is because he speaks Spanish, but he says that he's a Mexican American. Um, that can be the case for those who are born in the United States, with which their parents are from a Latin American country that speaks Spanish, in this case, Mexican, right? And yeah, interesting. So I like that. Let's keep listening and see if you have any questions. Um, you can ask
most
the chat.
month-long cultural celebrations start on the 1st, right? So why does Hispanic Heritage Month start on September 15th? It's because a handful of Latin American countries actually celebrate their independence.
By the way, something that I want to remember to all the people up there that they have it all mixed up with my brothers and sister from Mexico. Cinco de Mayo is not. It happened already, but uh, Happy Independence Day to all the Mexicanos, amigos, hermanos. Uh, it is important to acknowledge that. Okay, so Cinco de Mayo is it's being commercialized here in the United States because it's a way to celebrate the war, la batalla de Puebla. There was a war that, so Mexico basically kicked out the French from their lands, like, and that had took place a Cinco de Mayo a little while ago. I don't remember exactly the year now. That's embarrassing because I used to know that, but now I don't remember. But I'll find out and let you know. But the point is that Cinco de Mayo is not the the Independence Day of the people in Mexico. Is not. The United States have commercialized that as a way to kind of sell more, items and things like that. Like, you know, if you go to a restaurant, well, people do sell more margaritas, or they do deals about the different things and things like that. So it's a way to kind of, an excuse to kind of people to drink alcohol para emborracharse y todo eso. Entonces, obviamente, las personas en México se sienten contentos, ¿verdad? Por una acción que pasó hace muchos años atrás, que fue un acto histórico, pero no es la celebración de la independencia.
Days on September 15th, plus Mexico celebrates on the 16th, and then Chile on the 18th. But there what?
Do you guys knew that? So Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras was the 15th. Mexico was the 16th, and then Chile was the 18th. How cool was that? So Costa Rica has independence. They said, hey, people of El Salvador, we're already going to have our independence. Make sure you got the independence right after us, and so on and so forth. It's kind of interesting how that happened.
Then Chile on the 18th. But there wasn't always a whole month to celebrate Latinos or Hispanics. In 1968, Congress passed a law ensuring that presidents would recognize National Hispanic Heritage Week each year. Then 21 years later, President George H.W. Bush became the first president to officially declare it a month-long celebration. Hispanics are the second largest racial or ethnic group in the U.S. with more than 62 million.
Holy cow. That was 2 years ago. I'm wondering if because this video is a little old, so 62 millions of people, the second biggest. So I wondered why there's a lot of things happening with immigration, which I don't want to get into that topic because it's not relevant for this video. But all I want to say, so there's a lot of Latinos right here in Hispanic and in the United States, and most of us we're just trying to get a living. We're chasing the dream of having the opportunities that we can't have in our native speaker countries, and that's why we immigrate. That's what people normally immigrate, right? To get opportunities to try to be successful in different areas. So that's interesting, though. Good fact.
People descending or originally from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. Now, you've probably seen the words Hispanic and Latino used interchangeably, but they don't actually mean the same thing. The term Hispanic typically refers to someone whose family came from a Spanish-speaking country, while Latino refers to a person with ancestry in Latin America. And it is, by the way, possible to be both. Brazilians are Latinos, but they're not Hispanic because they speak Portuguese, not Spanish. But then you look at Mexicans, Dominicans, Cubans, and so many others from Latin American countries who are actually both. And this brings me to the term Latinx. Where does this fit into all of this? Well, Spanish is historically a gendered language with masculine and feminine words for all of us who speak.
I mean, we were watching that in the other video. Remember when we talked about uh, Spanish being a gender kind of related type of language? So Latino, Latina, for example, he's gonna probably use the word alto or alta. It's a word like you say, like talking about how tall is someone versus how short and things like that. So he's gonna explain that. So look at that one. Why don't you listen to that?
You know what this means, right? Take, for example, the word alto, which is tall in Spanish. For men, it's alto. For women, it's alta. Well, some are trying to do away with that by using gender-inclusive terms. That's where the X comes into Latin X. Now, there is a lot of debate on whether or not to use it to describe other Latinos. Some are even using the gender-neutral term Latine instead of Latinx. A good rule of thumb is to just ask people what they prefer to use to be identified. For me, they all work. Many Latinos like to identify themselves by the country that their families come from, like Mexicans, Mexican American. Others might use more specific identifiers to describe themselves, like Afro-Latino, which some prefer to acknowledge their mixed Black and Latino heritage.
So yeah, I think that's not a trend or something like that. It's actually in fact. So people when they see you, like when they see the skin color of you, they immediately think that you're African American. But we have people with dark skin just like me, and like this gentleman over here, he's an actor. They consider themselves as Afro Latino because they are obviously dark skin color, right? But their parents are either Latino or coming from those Caribbean countries where you see that there are a lot of influence from Africa, and basically slaves that were brought to those countries from the Spain people to work in the sugar plantation and things like that. So it's part of the story, though, part of history. So we got to kind of remember that and acknowledge that and understand how and why, specifically Dominicans. And then in the Dominican Republic, we have a lot of people of dark skin color, just like these gentlemen here, just like me, for example. And we're not necessarily like Afro Americans, but that doesn't mean that we don't have like our ancestries like our type because we come from like obviously right. So think about this: all the people that were brought from Africa to like work in the sugarcane plantation and in the mines and all that, in Latin American countries brought by Spain, they're Afro Latinos, like Africans. and that's why they consider themselves, if you were born in those countries after they get their independence, you're considered Afro Latino if you're dark skinned, just like me, for example. Right. So interesting fact. So a lot of good information.
Then there's the term Chicano, which was coined by Mexican Americans during the Chicano movement of the 1960s to describe their own unique identity. By the way, I identify as Chicano, Pocho, or Mexican American. They all work. So, what does this tell us, right? Hispanics are not one homogenous group that can be lumped together. Each Latino culture has its own unique set of traditions, its own definition of what it means to be Latino. And we celebrate all of them this month and year round.
There you have it. That video has a lot of facts, a lot of good stuff, man. Um, every day I learn something important or interesting that made me appreciate more where I come from. I don't have this like thing that most Dominican had. Like they, oh no, I'm not black. I'm Dominican. Why would you say that? I mean, like I don't understand that. I'm never going to understand that. I don't want to get into that type of like technicality. But if you're dark skin color, um, would you say that you are Afro Latino, or you will say that you are Dominican when you were born in the Dominican Republic? So all you have to say is acknowledge that you can understand that your ancestors in heritage basically come from Africa, my friend. Okay, so if you want to deny the fact that you are like dark skin color, in other words, black, and you don't want to say that you're Afro Latino, you want to say that you're Dominican. I think that's a like lack of information or lack of understanding. Because yeah, I'm Dominican, but I'm also dark skin color. I'm black. That doesn't make me like different than other people that are born on there, different than people that are born in the United States. Because when you see someone, immediately what you see, like for example, when people see me, they see, oh, look, he's black, but they don't realize that I was born, obviously, because they don't know me. They don't know that I was born in the Dominican Republic. So therefore, they assume that I'm Afro American. And I say, no, 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 I'm Afro Latino. I was born in the DR. And but you're black. It's like, well, there are black people everywhere. So it's interesting all that. So I think it's important to understand, like, educate yourself to respectfully respond to those questions. And I think as a teacher, when you have a students asking a question, is a good opportunity for you to kind of like state those facts and talk about like with the truth. Like, don't use some sort of like philosophy that man's trying to bring and say like at the end of the day we're all child of God. That's when someone asks me that. I think that sometimes I don't take it like personal or nothing like that. Like, oh, where are you from? Because I have an accent, right? So, well, what do you think that I'm from? What you tell me. That's what I normally say. So, like, what do you think? And they say, well, I don't know. Like, you have an accent, you're black. So it's like, oh, cool. Like, I came from heaven. So, and they start laughing like, oh, that's so funny. It's like, well, I don't think this is kind of uh, awesome to just like ask me. You know, I think it's interesting all that. Like I said, I don't want to go into technicality. The purpose of this video is basically just to kind of show the difference between Latino and Hispanic, and how beautiful is the diversity that we have within ourselves. Because, for example, I didn't for a long time I didn't know that there are people that are dark skinned and in Mexico, and there is an area in the south side, and then the south side, in the south part of the country, that there are a lot of what we call it morenitos, right? And same thing in Colombia, like in also obviously in Cuba, there's a lot of type of. There's a video that is super funny from Fluffy that he's talking about like the different type of dark skin color people that are in Cuba. I think he kind of used humor to kind of explain how how diverse within the black community, talking about Cuba, people can be like. So goes and says like, "Oh, there's black people, just like Wilson's snake, like black dark chocolate." I think it's funny because I think Dominicans have this perception like if you're like lighter skinned than I am, so you're like kind of better than me or something like that. That's another way you're supposed to look at it. Like I said before, we're all child of God. We got to treat each other with respect and just help one another and trying to be good citizen. And that's it, man. That's my point of view. But yeah, I'm hitting the almost 30 minutes 30 minutes mark, and I totally used the time to talk about those two terms and talk about the Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month. This video goes for that. Today, I'm not gonna have time to kind of teach the lesson, but at least you have uh, the that yeah, I think it's important. Like this wasn't a waste of time. Kind of react to those type of information and videos is really important. Like it was important to me because I kind of had the opportunity to talk about my roots and where I come from and all that. So I think it's kind of interesting. And whenever you say things like this and you do it mindfully, being respectful with with yourself and others, I think the uh, diplomacy is important. You don't want to you want to, you always want to like stand for what is right, obviously, and be truthful the best you can, but never like change who you are because you don't want to like technically hurt somebody else with your expressions or whatever you think is right, right? So it's a very fine line. I'm surprised I'm not even talking about all this because years ago I wouldn't probably come up in a live stream and say all this, but I think that we are in a stage in our life um, that people like have to be able to be more educated, and if you have the ability to kind of share and throw some light to the darkness that is up there, uh, the world can be a better place. And that's the way I look at it. As as a human being, as a child of God, I think it's important to understand that education is important. No, the more educated we are, more understanding and more like empathic and like we're gonna have more empathy and compassion for others. That's my point of view. All right, guys. Thank you for being with me for the next those 30 minutes or so. And remember to subscribe and share this video with people that might probably like that one. Once again, the Spanish Master. We'll see you tomorrow in our live stream, and we're gonna have more time to talk about the month of the Hispanic and Heritage because it's go all the way to October. So, by the way, I'm working in a project there, and I want you guys feedback. If I create a course called Zero to Mastery, learning and how to talk Spanish in a very conversational way. This course is going to be mainly for adults. So I want to learn Spanish in a very easy way, like conversing, talking, and things like that without like too much heavy grammar type of thing. Just let me know what would you like to learn if you would like to be part of this course, for example. So it's going to take me a little bit to go through that because an online course doesn't take like a couple of weeks. It just take like quite a bit of time. Now with AI, it's easy and faster to do those things, but I still want to be able to provide my own input and the videos and shoot those in a very professional way, at least using my phone or something like that. But yeah, so tell me what you would like to learn. If you were to take a course online, I actually going to do a webinar workshop where I'm going to be showing some of the material that I'm going to be uh, providing for people that are interested in learning Spanish with me. So I'm going to be doing a Q&A, but that workshop is going to be live. I think I'm going to do that through Zoom, and that way I can kind of record that, and we can use the video for future, repurpose that for something else in the future. All right, Spanish Master out. You guys are awesome. Remember to be respectful to yourself and others. And remember, life is beautiful. See ya.